Everything you know about this story is wrong. Two fighters, one valley, an impossible matchup that changed history forever. We've all heard the story of David and Goliath. It's the ultimate underdog tale. It's used by sports commentators, business gurus, and self-help authors to prove that the little guy can win. But what if I told you that the biblical account in 1 Samuel 17 isn't actually about a lucky underdog? What if the real meaning of this chapter has very little to do with human courage and everything to do with a completely different kind of power? Today, we are diving deep into the Valley of Elah to uncover 3 hidden layers of 1 Samuel 17 that most people completely miss. By the end of this video, you'll see your own giants in a completely different light. Let's get into it. Unlocking 1 Samuel 17, Beyond the Myth, showing the geography of Israel, zooming into the Valley of Elah. To understand the meaning of this chapter, we have to look at the setting. The Philistines and the Israelites are locked in a high-stakes standoff. Enter Goliath. The Bible doesn't skip the details here. It tells us he is over 9 feet tall. His coat of mail weighs 125 pounds. The iron tip of his spear weighs 15 pounds. For 40 days, morning and evening, he steps into the valley and taunts the army of Israel. In biblical terms, the number 40 represents a period of testing or trial. And look at the reaction in verse 11. On hearing the Philistines' words, Saul and all the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. Think about that. 40 days. For nearly 6 weeks, the entire army of Israel, including King Saul, who was literally a head taller than any other man in Israel, is completely paralyzed. Why? Because they are operating entirely by sight. King Saul had lost the Spirit of the Lord in the previous chapters. Without spiritual vision, Saul could only look at Goliath through natural terms. He counted the weapons. He measured the height. He calculated the odds. And every single time, his math told him to stay in the tent. This is the first major lesson of 1 Samuel 17. When we evaluate our problems strictly through human sight, fear is the inevitable result. Saul had the army, the armor, and the throne, but he was powerless because he forgot who his God was. Then steps in David. He's not even a soldier. He's a teenager sent by his father to deliver roasted grain and bread to his older brothers. But notice how David responds. He arrives at the front lines just as Goliath steps out to give his daily insult. He doesn't ask, "How big is that guy?" or "How can anyone beat him?" Instead, in verse 26, David asks, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" Do you see the shift? Saul and his army saw a giant defying them. David saw a mortal man defying the living God. David shifted the entire equation from a horizontal perspective, man versus man, to a vertical perspective, God versus a rebel. Naturally, people try to shut him down. His oldest brother Eliab accuses him of being arrogant. King Saul tells him he's just a boy. But David's confidence isn't based on youthful arrogance. It's based on a track record of hidden faithfulness. He tells Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth." This is a massive point for our own lives. David's victory in the valley was prepared in the wilderness. The lonely, unapplauded moments where he defended his sheep were actually God's training ground for the national stage. David wasn't bringing a knife to a gunfight. As a slinger, he was essentially bringing a loaded handgun to a sword fight. But his ultimate confidence wasn't in his sling. It was in the God who delivered him from the lion and the bear. Saul trying to put heavy, clanking bronze armor onto a small David. David shaking his head and taking it off. He picks up 5 smooth stones from a stream. Saul tries to give David his own royal armor, but David can't even walk in it. He strips it off. This is highly symbolic. You cannot fight the battles of faith using the world's armor. You cannot solve a spiritual problem using purely fleshly tactics. David walks down into the stream, picks up 5 smooth stones, and walks out to meet the giant. Goliath looks at him with pure contempt. He mocks David for bringing a staff, asking, "Am I a dog, that you come at me with sticks?" But listen to David's response in verses 45 to 47. This is the theological climax of the entire chapter. "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands." What happens next takes only a matter of seconds. David runs quickly toward the battle line. He reaches into his bag, puts a stone in his sling, and lets it fly. The stone sinks into Goliath's forehead. The giant falls face down on the ground. The Philistines flee, and the Israelites win a decisive victory. The theological meaning here is crystal clear. God does not deliver by human strength or weapon mechanics. He delights in using the weak, the small, and the foolish things of this world to shame the wise and the powerful. The victory belonged to God alone, and David was simply the willing instrument. But there is an even deeper layer here that changes how we read the whole Old Testament. In biblical theology, David is a type or a foreshadowing of Jesus Christ. Think about the parallels. The people of Israel are trapped, terrified, and unable to save themselves from a giant enemy. They need a champion. David steps forward as a humble shepherd, rejected by his brothers, unrecognized by the authorities. He goes into the valley alone, fights the representative battle on behalf of his people, and achieves a total victory. Because of David's victory, the rest of the army gets to share in the plunder. This is the gospel story. We are not David in this story. We are the terrified Israelite soldiers hiding in the tents. Our giant is sin, fear, and death. And we can't beat it on our own. Jesus is our ultimate David. He is the champion who went into the valley of death on our behalf, defeated our greatest enemies on the cross, and invites us to share in his ultimate victory. So the next time you face an impossible situation, don't look at it as a test of how strong you are. Look at it the way David did, as an opportunity for the living God to show his power. The battle isn't yours, it's his. If this breakdown helped you see 1 Samuel 17 in a new light, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into Scripture. Leave a comment below. What is a giant in your life right now that you need to surrender to God? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.